We're joined in terms of people who'll be presenting the topic today. Fiona Kiddle. Fiona Kiddle is a Macmillan nurse from Cherry Tree in Barnet. Emilio Bianchi and Isaac Oppong. So both Emilio and Isaac are work face-to-face with patients within the service, and the lead of the service, Katrina Heal, will be speaking to us a bit later on. Okay, and of course, behind the scenes, we've got Catherine Nestler. Without Catherine, we really wouldn't be able to put on the programme, so thanks very much, Catherine, for the all the help and support you give us with the webinars. Okay, so let's go straight into our webinar then. I'm going to ask Katrina to take over and tell us a little bit more about what the programme's about, how it's developed, and how we can refer in. Thanks very much, Katrina.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I think the screen should be shared, so hopefully you'll be able to see that in just a second.
We've got the slides up. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So just to give you we're here today to talk about Move4You, which is a physical activity programme for cancer patients. And so I'd like to start off by, hopefully everyone is all aware of the positive benefits that physical activity can have for cancer patients throughout their cancer journey. But we're just going to, on the next slide, just run through some of these benefits. Catherine, do you mind moving the slide on, please?
I think there's a slight delay. I have moved it on. Let's
okay.
It
I mean,
appears.
I can just carry on chatting. So we were initially funded back in 2014 by Macmillan to carry out the service, and they went on to produce a review of the positive benefits. And like I mentioned, there's a growing body of evidence now to support those benefits for cancer patients from physical activity. And these can include the positive benefits, like I mentioned, before treatment. So for people being physically active leading up to their treatment, it can also translate not only positive benefits for their physical function, but also in terms of fewer post-operative complications and shorter stays in hospital. We know that through Move4You, for some of our participants, it's been really positive for them, and their recovery, I suppose, post that surgery or treatment has actually been a lot easier for them because they were physically sort of more prepared for that situation. So that's a positive benefit. Also reducing fatigue and pain, increasing flexibility, improving mood, certainly through the struggles with COVID and the challenges we've all faced. A big part of the programme was connecting and making sure people were still connected. So not only through physical activity, but we're putting on quizzes and coffee mornings. And so all sort of contributing to supporting people to feel better, I suppose, in themselves, not only just through those positive endorphins, but also through feeling connected with people. Increasing your general fitness and bone health. We know that it can be quite challenging on certain treatments for people to maintain a healthy weight. So obviously being more physically active can be a positive benefit. And then also increasing survival time and reducing the risk of reoccurrence. There's actually been some really strong evidence that's come out around this. I'm not sure if the screen's moved on for everyone. I'm still on the same slide. And so Macmillan has also done an evidence-based review.
Sorry, Katrina, I thought it had popped up by now. Let me try resharing.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, I'm just sort of we're talking quite quickly, but hopefully.
Yeah, I'll try sharing again and see if it works.
Okay, and Sharon, perhaps be a backup. That'd be helpful. Thanks, Sharon.
I could carry on going, because you can read the slides afterwards. And so, yeah, so there's been some really strong evidence around the survival and reducing reoccurrence. So breast cancer and prostate patients saw a reduction of 30 to 40% by being physically active at the recommended levels compared to those who were doing less than an hour. And there was also been positive evidence for bowel cancer patients as well. So they were slightly a little bit more increased physical activity levels to 6 hours per week, but also saw a 50% reduction in the risk of dying from the disease. So that's some really positive benefits we know from physical activity. But sadly, and I suppose in the world that we live in, we also need to think about the economic benefits as well. But there is also a strong evidence base coming out now, more so for that. A study was carried out in 2017, and it showed that for early treatment of breast cancer, women that were part of an exercise group actually saw fewer hospital admissions and had fewer visits to the GP as a result of being physically active. So obviously, again, another really positive benefit of being physically active throughout that cancer journey. I know we've now got this slide up, but I need to try and hopefully it will move on to the next one. And so we know that there's that evidence base there, but through Move4You, we've been able to successfully show the impact and the outcomes of the service. As I mentioned before, we started off delivering in Haringey and Enfield. We then managed to expand the service to Barnet, and then through the support of NCL from 2019, we now cover all 5 North London boroughs. And so evidence is collected throughout that journey from pre, post, 6 and 12 months. So although sorry to the participants, but we do ask for quite a lot of information from them, this has been really important in terms of showing and demonstrating the impact of the programme. And then through that, those cancer-specific tools embedded within that questionnaire, as you can see from the slide, we've been able to demonstrate a significant impact for patients, whether that be for improving their quality of life scores, thinking about mobility, increasing mobility, and then also increasing their physical activity levels. 87% of participants on the programme, as it is a physical activity programme, you'd hope, increased their physical activity scores, which is obviously, again, a really positive demonstration of how we're delivering that, taking that evidence base and actually delivering it for patients in the community. As a result of sort of thinking about that further funding piece, we also have had to try and demonstrate the cost savings from the programme, and we can officially say that the programme Move4You does achieve cost savings to the NHS. Thankfully, with the support of the team at NCL, we were able to use the 3-year data set and analyse that against unplanned and planned activities for patients. And it showed that on average, there was a 43% decline after attending Move4You. When splitting this data and looking at planned against unplanned activities, it showed that there was an average cost reduction of 55% for planned care. Our strongest data set, I think partly because of funding, and also we weren't coming to the end of the funding, but also we didn't have the complications of COVID, was in 2017-18, and that presented the highest reduction in cost for Move4You attendees, and we saw a 62% reduction there. So it's really positive to see that we can actually demonstrate the impact of Move4You and physical activity for patients. But I think that's testament to Emiliano and Isaac, who are on the call. Sorry, can you move the slide on, please? Thank you. So Move4You, hopefully you're all aware of the service, and if not, you'll hopefully be more aware now. So it's simply a physical, it's not simply, but it's a physical activity programme for cancer patients across North Central London, so Haringey, Barnet, Enfield, Camden and Islington. So the service has certainly expanded since we started, and it's for anyone who's 18 plus, and that's from diagnosis up to 5 years post. So it's a lot of patients and people that we can see and support through the programme. We carry out the sessions virtually at the minute, but we are seeing now people are sort of selecting that they'd like to return back to face-to-face. So we're just having conversations with individuals and also working through how that might look moving forward. I think virtually the feedback is it's actually quite easy for people if they have the technology, just to turn their laptop on and they can see everybody do their session, quite easily, but obviously you miss that social interaction with people. We do support people up to 12 months post programme and have exit routes for people, or the guys will, Emiliano or Isaac might give people instructions in terms of how to keep exercising beyond the programme. And that's really helpful for us when we're trying to get that data back at 6 and 12 months. But the main important thing really is the work that Emiliano and Isaac do about tailoring the programme to people's needs, making sure that we engage with people and offer a variety of activities, but it's about being functional, about building confidence and trying to support people through the whole programme, really. And whether that be, like I said, from diagnosis up to 5 years post, that period of time, it's throughout the entire cancer pathway. So it's for all people experiencing cancer living in Barnet, Camden, Enfield, Haringey and Islington. And they could be having treatment in those boroughs or live in those boroughs. And we can accept referrals. We've gone paperless now, which is quite challenging, but we've gone paperless so that you'll be able to see the link, and we're going to post that in the chat and also remind you all at the end to keep referring patients to us. But we also have a Word version as well, which people do fill out and can send directly to my NHS email address. But hopefully the form is quite straightforward to use. You can also find the form on EMIS. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, Claire. System, yes. So it's easy for GPs to locate that. And yeah, like I said, we're accepting referrals. So please refer patients. It's for anyone, like I said, up to 5 years post-diagnosis, over 18, and for any cancer diagnosis. So that's that slide. Oh, sorry, I forgot to talk about the graphs. So as you can see, we were funded from November to June, and it looks like there's a gap between June and November, but this is just while we were finalising what the new contract might look like. But Emiliano and Isaac were still seeing patients at that time, working with the patients we were still working with. The service has been affected by COVID and the implications it's had on the wider healthcare system. But we would like to really see those referrals received in November, so seeing 60 referrals a month, back up to that position again. But yeah, hopefully we can get to that with your support.
Thank you very much.
I think the last slide is just literally my contact details and Lucy's contact details.
Yeah, and so if you've got any queries, either Katrina or Lucy would be really happy to deal with them if you've got queries after the event today. And of course, we're going to have a free for all for questions at the end. Thank you very much, Katrina. Is there anything else that you want to say before we move on?
I can put my email in the chat and then people have it, but otherwise. Lovely. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. So the really important thing about this programme is that it's based on accumulating evidence around the very, very clear improvements for people with cancer and how their symptoms are better managed. They need to call to the services less from the medical services, and clearly they get all the extra benefits of improving their general level of fitness. So we're extending what this program does is it's build on and extends the evidence that generically supports the rationale for exercise to a position where it's specifically helping people as they move through their cancer pathway. So that's what's really important. So what we're going to move to now is a little dialogue between myself, Sharon and Stewart around their experiences with the programme. So if I could start, in fact, I'm just going to reintroduce both of you for people who've joined us a little bit later in the proceedings. Both Sharon and Stewart are cancer patients and they've had experience of the programme. So to both of you, really, could you tell us briefly about your illness and how long you've been living with it, just to give people a little bit of an understanding of where you are in your journey at the moment?
Sharon, do you want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. I was diagnosed in November 20, chondrosarcoma in my right hip.
Right.
And then I had, previous to that, I was having pain in my right hip for about 9 months. I thought it was arthritis. Turns out I had x-rays and it wasn't. that's what it was. So I had a proximal femoral hip replacement in January of last year, which was quite a shock as to the actual extent of the surgery. And then I was at the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in Stanmore, and they referred me after my physio had finished with them. They said that this plan was about, and that it was being extended, and they were going to refer me, which they did, and I'm very pleased that they did, because it's been really, really helpful.
Thank you. Can I ask you a little bit more, Sharon, about what's particularly been helpful about it for you that you wouldn't have done if you hadn't had access to the programme?
Well, I was very active before my diagnosis, and I'd been given a lot of information from my physios. Can't do this, you can't do that. It was very restrictive, obviously, because of the surgery that I'd had.
Yes.
It's given me the confidence to go out and do some of the things that I used to do, such as going back to the gym, going for a swim, all that kind of stuff, because it just helped me. My mobility has increased so much more by doing the exercises that Emiliano has given me. Yes.
And how often, what's the increase in frequency in your use of exercise now in your day-to-day living?
I'd like to say that I was nearly back to normal as to what I was pre-surgery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back to, so I'm only a year post-surgery, but I'm back doing Pilates. I go swimming. I'm doing a bit of gym, maybe not to the extent that I was before, but I'm doing what I used to do, where I was given the impression that wouldn't be able to happen.
Brilliant. So it's really helped in your rehabilitation.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So if I could ask Stewart now. Stewart, what about yourself? What's your story?
Can I say, I think this video should be made available to all GP staff, not just GPs, nurses, and can I be heretical and say reception staff as well, because they chat to patients, and I only got the program by chatting to my receptionist.
That's how you found out about it, you mean?
Yes, she had breast cancer. I'm chair of the PPG. We chatted, and she said, "Why aren't you on the program?" And I said, "What program?"
Right. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was diagnosed.
It will be open to everybody. It is accessible to everybody. That's the way we construct them at the Cancer Alliance, and we signpost the different professional groups within the health sector to it. So people will hear about it.
Okay. Well, I think from my Health Watch work, maybe we should be doing a mystery shop to see if cancer patients really do know about it.
Absolutely. All those sorts of things are worthwhile. Yeah. Now, what about yourself and your journey? And can you share a bit with us, with particular GPs on the call today, and the practice nurses? We've heard how you've discovered about the program, but what did it change for you?
Well, I had a prostatectomy which didn't quite work. Then I had to have, I think, 3 months of daily radiotherapy and the hormone treatment. My weight shot up. My waist went from a 38 to a 42.
Okay.
And my lethargy increased. I really couldn't be bothered. Prior to that, I was working part-time as a management consultant, very active in the stream of health-related voluntary work, keen garden, swimming, walking, and I really just didn't want to bother.
How many months were you into your illness pathway now? When you're not now, but when you're at the point that when you felt you didn't want to bother?
It was after the radiotherapy had finished, which really knocked me out. The hormone treatment put weight on, and that just really all knocked me for 6.
Yes.
I started the program, and gradually my waist went back to what it was. My weight didn't change all that much, but Isaac said I've been converting fat into muscle. And I recovered my mental energy. I do more work now in the voluntary sector. I'm working quite hard as management consultant. Not bad for somebody who's 75. And it really put life back into me.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize too much. I mean, Sharon's agreeing. It put things back into me that I thought I'd lost. I was thinking, well, you're lucky to be alive. The cancer was discovered by accident. They were checking my cholesterol. The operations, the treatment was successful, but the quality of life just went down. And now it shot right up. I'm a fervent believer in it. I mean, somebody said if exercise was a drug, Daily Mail would be calling it the new wonder drug. It's impossible to say how much it's improved me mentally and physically.
That's fantastic. So, but both of you, from what you've said, were pretty, you did quite a lot of exercise, both of you, before you became unwell. Are you aware of friends or people you've met through the patient network who really didn't do much exercise and have started the programme, and that's even been able to change the way they view themselves in that respect?
Sharon?
I've not had any contact with any other patients, unfortunately.
Right.
I think through Isaac runs a group for us on the Tuesdays on Zoom with other prostate cancer patients, and a couple of my colleagues on that really weren't into exercise.
Yeah.
And I think now they are getting more in and really seeing the benefit. Although I have to say, I did have a close friend with prostate cancer who had the same problems as I had, and he didn't want to know about exercise.
Okay.
He was quite depressed with his increase in weight, but couldn't face doing something about it. And I think more stories like this might have helped him to come into the system. Yeah.
And as you've been able to talk to friends and people you've met about the experience, have you found that you've persuaded some people, if not this particular person, to try it?
I'm laughing because as soon as I see men of a certain age, sort of over 30, the first thing I say is, "What's your PSA?"
Yeah.
So right. they tend to run a mile when they send me. I do talk about it. I do talk about exercise unbidden.
Yeah. Good. Yes.
And I so just try it. Do so. It doesn't matter what you do. Do something.
Yeah.
So I do try and spread the message.
Yeah, absolutely. In your experience, both of you, do you think people are aware of the nuanced difference? I mean, we all hear that exercise is good for any of us, but do you think that the message that actually for cancer patients, as they're recovering from their active treatment, it's even more important? Do you think that comes across, or do you think it doesn't come across? We need to do more as a sort of health system to sell that story. Yeah.
I think it needs to be built into the whole patient journey, almost from diagnosis, almost to say, before you start your treatment, I want you to start a gentle exercise program. And what's very important is doing it with a peer group.
Yes. Yeah.
If you can get into a peer group and with a good trainer, as I keep saying to Isaac, I do my daily exercises because if I don't, he'll know, and I don't want to disappoint him. But that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. You don't want to disappoint them. You don't want to be doing it as much for yourself, but for them as well.
Yes. And do you think COVID has been, most people have found it harder to do exercise during the lockdown sort of periods of COVID, and then sometimes working from home has actually, people will say, oh, it's made them given a bit more flexibility. In terms of cancer patients, how have you found, and your colleagues and people that you've met who in relation to this programme, have they got a bit more impetus from the programme to take them through the challenging parts of COVID and on? Has that helped?
Again, I've not been in touch with anybody. It's just throughout COVID, it's just been myself. I've unfortunately, I had everything. I had sessions on Zoom with the physio, and then I've had this, and that's all I had all through COVID.
Right. So they were your mainstays of support. Yeah.
But I've not been put in touch with anybody, so I can't help you with that.
No, that's fine. It's just it's really good to hear your experiences. Stewart, do you have anything to add on that?
Yes, well, I've started a coffee morning Zoom after our physio sessions, which means we meet and we chat.
Yeah.
So that's kept us all going through the Zoom. Sometimes Isaac's program, I think, we have about 12 to 15. About half come to the coffee morning. Some people just listen. They don't want to say anything. They just want to listen to the chat. And it has kept us going all the way through. People now are beginning to talk about meeting face to face, but I find the Zoom very, very good because I can squeeze it in, but not squeeze it in. That's wrong word. I can have it between business meetings as well.
You save on travel time, don't you? Yeah. You
save the travel time, but you miss the social bit of going and travelling. Pluses and minuses with Zoom meetings.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, look, I think what we should do actually is speak to both Isaac and Emilio about the programme, and I think they're going to give us a little, in terms of GPs are always really, we all need as GPs as much information as possible, how to encourage patients to go forward and try something. So I think what we were going to have is a little bit of a lesson from the two of you, so that we might be able to talk patients through the sorts of things that they might do. And in fact, even if patients decide they didn't want to be part of the programme, we'd be able to tell them something useful. And by the end, hopefully, they'd take our signpost anyway. So welcome both of you, Isaac and Emilio, and floor is yours. Thank you.
I think Emiliano is going to start off with the mobility and the stretches, and then I'll go into the aerobic and resistance. I'm not going to get everyone to do it. We're just simply going to talk through what we're doing. You've escaped. We're going to talk through what we're doing and the benefits of that as well.
Okay, thank you. Emilio, thank you. I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, we can see you, Emilio. Yeah, brilliant.
Oh, we can't hear you yet.
I think it may just have flipped Emilio to mute again. The computer. I think on my screen it looks like that. But
you hear me? Sorry.
We can. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear properly?
Yeah, we've got you. Thank you.
Check if I put the headset, but I think it's fine like that. Yes, sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Do some mobilizations, basically. This is what we always do prior the exercise, the main exercise program, basically. This is in order to activate the synovial fluid in the joints, mobilize the joints, make the blood flow, raise the heart rate as well. So it's like a warm up, okay? For some surgery, especially on the breast area, usually if the range of motion of the arms is restricted, that's all we give to the patients. They have to regain the range of motion first before start lifting weight. That's very important, not to carry weight if there is not enough range of motion. Some of those exercises I will show you anyway. Okay, we start with the usually I can do a seated one. Usually I can do standing. It depends. It really depends from the patient. Also, one note I wanted to say regarding you were talking about the GPs. I'd like to let the GP know that when they refer people to exercise, it's very important that the people know that it's tailored upon what their own abilities. Because sometimes they get a little bit not scared, but concerned about the exercise. They think they cannot do it. It's maybe too much for them. But what we do is really tailor upon their own abilities. And sometimes I do only mobilizations, or maybe meditations, techniques. So that's what we do. That's very important that they know that as well. Okay, usually I start from the neck. We can rotate the head side to side. And then on the shoulders, just a few shrugs. Always I try to do it like Pilates and yoga, basically. following the movement with the breath. Inhale, exhale, listening to your body throughout. And then you place the hands on the shoulders and just draw the circles backward. It's very important to know your body, listen to your body. This is very important. I always mention. And then change direction. You go forward. Your body talks to you, tells you if there is something you shouldn't do or you should push too much. And relax. Then you can open and close the arms. Again, just to mobilize the shoulders. And if some people cannot do this, maybe they just lower down the arms. They reduce the range of motions. I always try to mention this to the patient. Always. And then we do what we call washing windows. So even washing the windows can be useful, I guess. There you go, and lift. Maybe some patients keep the arms down because they don't have enough range of motion. That's absolutely fine. And then you can reverse. You go out and swap the arms in. Inhale, exhale. Keeping the back straight. Always think about your posture, engaging your abdominals. Lengthening to the spine. Then just relax. You can curl the arms. Working a little bit of the coordination. You can extend one leg and then the other. Careful not to kick anything in front of you, maybe the table. Just be careful. Again, lengthening through the spine. Good. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, curl. Inhale, down. And then we can mobilize the spine a little bit. Hands together in front of the chest. Relax your shoulders, back and down. Any movement of exercise we do in the shoulder forward, we continue doing it like that. So always, that's a good setup. Shoulders back and down. And then you just rotate. Again, at your own range of motion. Exhale, rotate on one side. Inhale, center. Maybe you have a lower back pain and this is not possible. Again, it's absolutely fine. You use the moment. And then we mobilize this way. Drop the arms to the side. Inhale to drop one side. Exhale, center. And maybe inhale, lift one arm up to the sky. Exhale, bend. Lengthening the arm and the spine. One more for the hips. Reset your shoulders and then just tap out. Rather, tapping with your toes. Let's add also the upper body, why not? Exhale, arm to the front and tap to the side. And then change. Out, in. Couple more. And relax. Hands together in front of the chest. Deep inhalation through the nose. Lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, lower down the arms. Slowly. Good. And then after doing warm-up and mobilization, you can do a little bit more challenging exercises. It depends on what the client can do. Pass on me.
Yeah, so with the next two exercises, they're probably the most, not saying that the mobility is not important, the aerobic side of it and the resistance side of it is where most of the science lies. We're going to do one resistance exercise, and what we're trying to do when we're doing our resistance exercise is to help improve that muscular structure and increase that strength as well. We also know that the science is linked to the more lean muscle mass you have, the greater your chemotherapy completion rates are. So these exercises are really important. I would say for the first one, I would go with the basic exercise that off the bat I would give to anyone that's got poor mobility, then we progress it up. So the first exercise we have is for your leg muscles. So these are your engines. All you'll do from the side on view is you keep your feet shoulder width apart You're going to lean forward. As you lean forward, you're going to push up, nice and straight to a standing position. And then you're coming slow as you can back down to that chair. It's your main focus is pushing your bum back, but keeping your chest up. So if you've got that Tottenham side of your chest that me and Emiliano have, we keep it upright so somebody can always see it. Okay. So we're going to start. We're going to go with 10 resistance exercises. So off you go. If you find this too easy, the way to progress it is don't allow your bum to touch that seat. So just before it gets back to that seat, you're going to push back up. Okay. As we get close to the, remember, bum back, chest up. Remember what muscles we're working those big quad muscles that make it easier for you to complete your daily tasks, if that's walking around, going up and down stairs. This is that major muscle. The more efficient we can get blood flow and nutrients to this muscle, the easier it's going to be, and also a link to reduction in fatigue and reduction in falls as well. So we've got 2 more. I'm not going to keep you doing it all day, I promise. 1 more to go. Good. Relax there. Take a seat. So the next stage of the exercise is usually we'll build up a circuit with resistance training. The next stage is aerobic. So this one's got most of the research and the current evidence is based in this one. So what we're looking to do here is to get your heart rate up. So what Stewart spoke about earlier, what we normally do is we get them in between 2 heart rate zones. Because if we see exercise as medicine or a dosage, we need to get you to a particular level to get your heart working hard enough to get those benefits, okay? So the exercise, this one's going to test your coordination a little bit more. So what we will have, I hope you can see all of me, but my legs go out to the side and come back in, okay? To make this exercise slightly harder, all we do is bring those hands above our head. So our heart has to work harder to push that blood up to our arms. Okay, so this one is going to go for 1 minute long. 3, 2, 1, off you go. So we know with this type of exercise, we normally start with getting people to do their daily brisk walking. So we're aiming to get up to 30 minutes of brisk walking a day. And as you saw in the slideshow, we know that if you're getting 2.5 hours of moderate intensity exercise, especially with breast cancer patients, we know we can get that reduction of 55% risk of reoccurrence. So this is why this aerobic side is really important. Resistance as well for your prostate cancer patients and for any patient that needs sedentary. Okay, so we've got 20 seconds to go. After this, it's all over. I hope this is not your exercise for today. I hope you're going to get a little bit more than this. We're nearly there, 10 seconds. Remember, if it's too hard, you're just stepping out to the side. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax there. Brilliant. Take a seat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining in.
That's really fantastic, both of you. I reckon we could have done that for every lunchtime. Might well be inviting you back again to do a bit more with us. Thank you very much. So I hope you were trying that at home, so to speak, or in practice, and we might well see if we can get a few more lessons for people, because the other thing that is really helpful, we know, generally across the board, is confirmation and encouragement by patients' GPs to try something new, to try this, is really helpful. So GP endorsement for all types of health and well-being do have a positive impact. So thank you very much. I mean, that's just been fantastic. I'm going to open up the session to Q&A, to questions now. And Lucy, do you want to,
Claire, we need to hear from Fiona.
Oh yes, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
It was really so Fiona, let's go to you first, and then we'll go to those that Q&A. Fiona is a Macmillan nurse, and she works in Cherry Tree Lodge, which is a centre in the north of our NCL patch in Barnet. So Fiona, thanks very much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Yes, well, you know, I work at Cherry Lodge Cancer Care in High Barnet, and I will see people from diagnosis to after treatment is finished, so at any stage along their cancer journey. What I would just like to say, it is so easy to refer. You know, the form isn't difficult. You can do it in the space of a few minutes, so don't let that put you off at all. And we do quite a few referrals for prehab if people have got the time. Really great before they're going to their operations, or as I said, join their treatment or afterwards. The project is incredibly flexible, and I know that I can refer someone who's 90 years old who can't get out of their chair to someone in their early 30s. And so they're going to get that very individualised session. One of the main areas I think I refer most people from is from my men's group, and Stewart already has told us a lot about the benefits that he's had from the sessions. And this is my group called Men Down Under, who have prostate or bladder cancer. And for them, they have such issues with sometimes continence, fatigue, muscle wastage. And for most of them, they don't even know that they've got pelvic floor muscles. So that has been so important to help with getting their self-esteem back. And what also comes across is that there is a lot of laughter involved as well. Confidence, I think, is one of the key issues I see for people when they're going through a cancer diagnosis, and particularly afterwards when they're trying to find what their normal is. They haven't been exercising, they're tired, and what we find and the feedback we get is that this project gives people back their self-esteem and their confidence, and allows them to actually take back some sort of control over a situation where they've had no control. And I'll give you an example about this. I had a young girl who was in her late 20s with a brain tumour, and she could have up to 2 or 3 fits every hour. And she had to have someone with her 24/7, which was always her mother. And I referred her to the Move4You project. And it may only be that she could do 5 minutes on the bike, but that 5 minutes to her meant so much, because it gave her that tiny bit of independence, and she had achieved something, whereas before mum was always with her, right beside her all the time. So I can't tell you what this project meant to her. The other area, I think we often think with palliative care, that why do people who are palliative, why do they need to join an exercise class? But again, it is often about, it's the self-esteem and the confidence, and it is giving them that little bit of control, as I said earlier, over a situation where they have got no control over their illness. During COVID, people have become so much more isolated, feeling vulnerable, feeling worried about going out. And by being able to actually do the classes on Zoom, the feedback we have had has been absolutely incredible, and it's what really has got people through the isolation that they've been feeling. I think what people come back to me about, it's not just about the physical side of it, it's also how much it helps their mental health issues as well, and that, you know, that I think is one of the most important things, along with the exercise. So all I can say is please keep going. We love it.
Yeah. And just to the whole team, do you, it's likely, because we've found this in medicine, some people prefer, patients do prefer doing things online, other people prefer doing it face to face. Will you continue doing both with both modalities through the rest of the programme?
Yeah, so I think as more referrals come through and requests for returning back face to face, then we will go back face to face. Yeah, but it's going to look different. I think it's going to be more like a hybrid model because, like Stewart said before, and what Fiona's just said then, virtually people do actually like joining virtually as well. So I think we might have to try and do a mix of both. Yeah,
I would think that would be a good idea. We've got some really interesting questions in the chat. So thanks, Fiona, and we'll move to a Q&A with everybody. So a really interesting one that Elizabeth has asked is, can a spouse join in? So I think that's a really good question. A spouse, a partner, or perhaps an older teenage child, perhaps. What you want is someone who can encourage the patient to continue doing the exercise, I guess, and make it a family affair if possible. What's your view, Isaac, Emiliano, Katrina?
I know we've got examples of having had that situation happen, so I'll hand over to Isaac, can probably answer it in a bit more detail. But we definitely had people support and be there present in the sessions, and it's been really beneficial for that patient to get, just get more benefit, really. Like you said, after the program they can carry on doing it together. So it's definitely something that we can accommodate. But I'll let Isaac, I think, both you off ready to answer as well.
It's definitely a powerful tool to use. We've got, I think of one instance where a lady who suffered from severe anxiety was coming into the gym and she didn't want to be without her partner there. So he used to exercise on the bike next to her, and then we'd do the exercises next door to each other. We just make sure that we par-cue the person, they've had their risk assessment, and then they're good enough to exercise. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I had a case as well. The partner, he had a membership in the gym, so he could come and stay with us while I was doing it, and they were using the same machines as well, so they were pairing.
Okay, so who was the people that you met in the gym were referring, or the people this patient met in their gym were started to refer?
Basically, the lady, she was referred to us.
Yeah.
Her husband, basically, he had a membership in the gym, so he could, because some gyms, if you are not member, you can actually stay there and train. So he had a membership. So I was tailoring the program from that, basically, and they were sharing the machines. So maybe next to each other on the treadmill, or maybe she was doing a set on the machine and then he was doing the other one. I was sort of, giving tips as well of how to perform the machines. Yeah, it was motivating for her, definitely.
It sounds like it. Thank you. I've got a question here from Baptiste Luana. Would you like to speak your question?
Yes, please. Hi.
Thank you. Hello. Hi.
I'm a social prescribing link worker for Central One Primary Care Network in Islington. And I had a couple of questions. So one, where is your service based? Do you kind of go to clients or do they go to you?
Who wants to take that?
Do you want me to go?
Yep, thanks, Katrina.
So before COVID, we were based in sort of set leisure centres, but now because of COVID and working more virtually, basically clients will pick a time slot and then they get sent a Zoom link and they join the session through there. But as we move with more people wanting to return face-to-face, I think it might be a combination of using studio spaces in some of the gyms that we were in before. So there's one in each of the boroughs that we work in, or even we were using Whittington Hospital and Chase Farm Hospital to deliver sessions from, or community venues. So I think it's just going to depend how we move back to face-to-face is going to depend on how those referrals come in. So it's just working that out logistically. But we were predominantly pre-COVID based in gyms, but I think that's going to naturally have to change a little bit, maybe to more studio-based sessions or community halls, as well as the virtual offer.
Yeah, lovely. That's great. And the other question I have is, I also work directly with Age UK in Islington. Does the referrer have to be a healthcare professional or can it be a charity worker?
So ideally we'd need to see that the person's safe to exercise. So although it's self-referral, they would need to maybe speak to their GP or their CNS nurse, or to get that signed off that it's safe for them to exercise. but they can complete all of the form apart from that.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions that I've missed from the chat?
Claire, I haven't seen any other questions, but just a very quick summary. So there was just to check that colleagues here will get the link of this webinar to be able to share a bit more widely as they desire, and it will also be on the Alliance and the NCL GP websites too. The other theme was around sort of referrals, self-referrals, and I've put the links in the chat to access the referral form. And thank you, Lutfar, for checking it's on EMIS. And EMIS is the GP website, for those of you that are not aware, the GP document place. And you just need to type in Move4You, move the number 4U. And also a really interesting question, is there a waiting list? I'm really pleased to say there isn't a waiting list, which is almost unheard of in our healthcare system at the moment. And I would encourage you to maximise the resource of Move4You, so please refer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think I've missed any.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm going to ask whether Emilio, Isaac, or even perhaps Stewart might have some last final words they want to say around the evidence of what happens when you do exercise and you increase your chances, you decrease your chances of return of disease, and you increase your chances of improving your well-being and improving your response to treatment. I think Isaac may have had most of the, you spoke most, and then I wanted to come to Stewart as well. Thank you.
My personal experience endorses the statistics quoted by Isaac. Absolutely. Yep. I don't think there could be any doubt. If someone said that they've not had any benefit from exercise, they're either not doing the exercise or living in cloud cuckoo land. I think all of us who just did some exercises feel better. Just that 5 minutes has energized us. So imagine what 20 minutes a day is going to do for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, excuse me if you can hear my dog in the background.
No, not at all. No.
I think the evidence base for exercise, it's getting amazing. So when we're looking at even what happens when your muscle contracts, we're now seeing that myokines are released, and these myokines can have an impact on the tumor site itself. So when we're looking at exercise as a whole, we have to see it as a medicinal factor as well. So we have to be exercising to the right level. It's not just exercising at light intensity. It is that feeling where you feel a little bit out of breath. You feel like you can't continue. You feel like you can continue, but you feel a little bit out of breath. You've got an oxygen debt. So I think the main basis is if you are, I don't know if patients are listening, but GPs alone, it is really important to refer into a program like this. If we want to see more people reducing that risk of reoccurrence, we've seen the statistics earlier on, and it will just benefits outweigh everything, really. Yeah.
Just to add a note, I mean, because of the cancer treatment, unfortunately, there is other condition occurring, such as osteoporosis or mental illness. And again, exercise is the wonder drug, which helps for the bone density to increase. So weight bearing, we're talking about only walking. Walking every day is beneficial for that. And not talking about the mental side. Exercise, cardiovascular, or even walking outside.
Yeah.
Fresh air, it helps the mental side of it.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, that's the fantastic thing. It's got so much potential in improving all the different aspects of our kind of total health picture. So I think we could probably have you all talking all afternoon, and we'd all be doing some more exercises. And I can see from the chat that some of the people who joined us today have certainly been trying those exercises. So thank you very much. whole session has been recorded. It's accessible through the website on the Alliance, and there'll be a link also in the web pages of the CCG, so that you can signpost anyone to it. They're free access portals. And I think actually, I feel that I can see that we'll be trying to do some more short exercise bits to some short exercise videos to circulate round. It's been a real pleasure to be with everybody today. I think we've really learned a lot, and thank you everybody for giving up your time. Thanks very much. And for the GPs on the call, the more you can share this with your colleagues, that will be great. We also invited practice nurses and our social prescribers and other allied health professionals to the call, and we'll be sharing this video with the different professional groups across NCL, so that people can show it and share it within their groups as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Many thanks to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks very much.